Are you ready to embark on a transformative journey? Hi, I am Sharon Kumara, host of Awakened Soul. By tuning into Awakened Soul Radio, you will be inspired to shed the illusions that bind you, connect more deeply with your inner wisdom, and step into a liberating life of freedom, clarity, and purpose. Each episode, I share stories and lessons learned that help cultivate greater compassion, patience, and understanding, qualities to embody in everyday life. I invite you to join in as we expand our awareness, exploring diverse topics, and gain access to practical tools, guided exercises, and expert advice to help overcome fears and break the chains that bind us. Join us on Awakened Soul. Your journey to freedom and true self begins here. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Awakened Soul Radio and Podcast. I am your host, Sharon Sananda Kumara, and author of Awakened Soul, my first book, My Near-Death Journey Home Through Christ's Infinite Love. And today I am super excited because today I have Dallisa Hocking on, a fellow psychic medium. Hello, Dallisa.
Hello, Sharon. We're going to have a great conversation today.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. We have lots to talk about and not enough time, as always. But, but what is time anyway, right? So
Exactly.
why don't you share a little bit about yourself rather than me just reading and telling
Yeah,
you stuff. Mhm.
happy to. So, I am a fifth generation psychic medium. My gifts all dropped in 10 years ago. I was actually a dating coach and a matchmaker when all of my gifts dropped in overnight when I was on a trip to New York. And I shouldn't be that surprised. My grandmother had these abilities, and her grandmother had them. And I used to sit in my grandmother's living room when I was growing up, and we would talk about the full body apparitions that she would see walking through her home and what clothes they had on and what color the clothes were. And she would talk about her ESP premonitions that she would get. And yeah, so I've been doing this for 10 years, and I am a clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient primarily. So sight, hearing, and feeling messages in my body. And yeah, I do a lot of channeling and a lot of work with archangels. And I've been doing a lot of predictions about 2026, as I'm sure you have been seeing a lot of things as well.
Yes, definitely. Yes. I'm doing a show New Year's Day, and you're invited if you want to come in and just share some of your predictions. It's a live show. Yeah, totally. If you're not busy. But yeah, I love there's a lot a lot going on. I can't wait to hear.
Yes. Yeah. What do you want to talk about first?
How about if we talk about well, people I think want to hear about your history with predictions and that type of thing. People like to hear about the future. You know that as a working psychic medium, right? So let's start there.
Yeah, so there's been a couple things actually happened in 2025 that I thought was interesting. Uh, the first one was on New Year's Day. Many of us will remember that there was a man who took a vehicle and uh, killed many people in New Orleans New Year's Day. And so when that happened, I was tuning into the energy of it because I felt this rush of energy. And Spirit said, there's going to be a second, meaning a second event that day. And I think the reason I was told that there was going to be another one, which there ended up being a cyber truck explosion in Las Vegas, is because I used to live in Las Vegas for a really long time. And so I had this like natural connection to Las Vegas. And so that's how 2025 started off. And then there's a 60-second video on Instagram and Facebook that I did later on in that same month of January, where I saw a crash and it involved an airplane and a helicopter. And I had just rolled out of bed. I had no makeup on, in my pajamas. And I heard from Spirit, record a video. And so I talked about the video or the dream in the video. And a couple of days later, the Washington, D.C. Airplane helicopter collision happened and tragic event killing many, many people. And I think that message had come in Not that I felt like there was anything I could do to prevent it, but I do think that it was an eye opener because many people who saw the first video of the prediction remembered it a few days later when it actually happened. And so I think spirit will sometimes bring these messages through,
Mhm.
these predictions, so that we can share them with people so that they, yes, have an idea of the energy that's unfolding, but also to demonstrate that we have the ability to get these premonitions, not just you and I, but anybody can access the information and find out what's coming as well.
That was my question. You read my mind. Why do you think Spirit is giving us these abilities and showing us future events? It's and yeah, thank you. That's an awesome answer to my question I had in my head. We're moving into that place where we're communicating telepathically all the time again. Anyway, right? So here you go. But also, not but, and I believe that when we leave our physical body, and tell me your thoughts on this, in our nighttime or in our travels and things like that, or meditation, when we disengage from our physical reality, that we're going to that place of no time. And all of us have the ability, like you said, and the opportunity to view events in that space where we can look around, I guess you could say, and see near future events, past and well, current, of course. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we're moving into higher consciousness. And you're right. We are going to be walking into a time where we are going to be communicating largely through telepathy. At least that will be a method of language that we'll be able to use more regularly. And it will be available to anyone that wants to do it. I mean, we could all do it now. I mean, I just read your mind about the question that you wanted to ask. And it's all, in my opinion, a frequency. And so if we get our vibration within ourselves, that frequency that we have within our own body, and we get it high enough, we can access all different kinds of places, dimensions, frequencies. And in those higher frequency states, that's where we can pull in predictions, or we can, attune our own intuition to be louder and stronger. We don't necessarily need to be people that are, out there publicly making big predictions, but I can tell you it's really, really helpful in the daily life to know, gosh, like what's coming, what's unfolding. And it's all in how we have that frequency within our body. And there's certain things you can do to raise your frequency as well.
Yes, definitely. Do you mind sharing some of those things with our audience?
Yes. Yeah. Some of the ones that I have found that are the most helpful and get you there the quickest is physical movement of the body. And so sometimes I will, before going into a channeling, I will like march in place and get my arms and my legs really moving just to create some energy within the body. It's like warming up the energy.
Mhm.
I also think getting out pen and paper without judgment and just writing down at the top, what do I need to know today? And start practicing the channeling of communicating with your higher self, or you can say angels, what do I need to know today, or grandma on the other side, what do I need to know today, and just practice. Even if you just write for 5, 10, 15 minutes, but practice bringing that flow in, which will also help that energy recalibrate into that higher octave. Also blessing water, like you can put your hands over a glass of water and infuse with your mind, with your thoughts, and ask that water to be blessed. And as you drink that water, that it will raise your frequency, and then you drink the water. Taking walks in nature, even sitting with trees or walking alongside the water, all those things will help create that peaceful flow within your vibration, which will help it to increase more. So, those are a couple things that we can all try, even holding different crystals. I think citrine for me is a really high frequency crystal, or you can also take a piece of clear quartz and program it and hold the crystal, and that becomes the crystal that you want to work with to develop your intuitive or psychic abilities. And then anytime you grab that specific crystal and hold it during meditation or during a walk or journaling, then that becomes a crystal that's an amplifier for you.
Nice. Yeah. Speaking of crystals, do you find that crystals are also record keepers, or are there certain types of crystals? If you know about that much about crystals, do you? What are your thoughts on that?
I Yeah, I do believe they hold energy
Right.
and that they can contain sacred code, sacred information. Uh, all different crystals are going to hold different kinds of energy. And so I do think selecting the crystal that really aligns with what you're trying to do can be most helpful. The ones that I recommend more now than ever before are selenite and for clearing energy and keeping a space free of the lower frequencies. But I like pairing selenite with like a black tourmaline or a black obsidian, and either putting them in the window seals or putting them in the corners of your space, your home, your office, because the selenite will keep the black crystal clean. And so it's like a self-cleaning oven. So they'll work together. But that's been really helpful in creating the space and the energy that you want in your home or your office, or even your car. They're saying psychically in my ear. But yeah, each one it's got different ingredients to it.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. When I hold a crystal, I feel a different energy signature. And I do feel that, just like what you said, that each crystal has an energy signature and maybe some type of personality on, depending on where they've picked it up, where they've been. And I do feel that they hold their own home frequency, their own particular unique frequency and personality. I don't know why I keep getting personality for some reason. Because
I
I
love
do,
it.
yeah, I do feel they're sentient in some way. And yeah, I've picked up memories of ancient lifetimes in crystals before, like Lemuria and that type of thing, just holding them and meditating with them. Yeah, crystals are amazing. I love them. So I have another question for you. All right. I mean, as we go, I'll have tons. It's, I had a dream last night. Okay. I don't know why they're asking me to bring it up, about moving through jump gates, stargates. And we went to the past in my dream, out of body experience, whatever it is, because I'm a traveler, a conscious traveler. And we went to the past to observe a time to where things changed. It was during what I got was, it was during the time of 1940s. Yeah. And we were observing, gathering information, because there wasn't anything we could really do. We can't change it, right? But we were gathering information. We had brought something with us, and I don't know why I'm telling you this, but they asked me to. Brought something with us to uh, mm, repair a frequency fence that was being built at that time, and I believe it has to do with the extraterrestrials. And I know we're going way out there now, that came to the planet at that time, that were putting us in a very negative trajectory. Um, and so we came back and brought that information so that we could change, not really change, but realign a certain trajectory. Do you have any experience with anything like that? Because they're asking me to share it.
What's coming to mind as you're sharing that, which I think is incredible. I'm glad that you brought it up because I think more and more people are awakening to being able to astral travel and move back into the past and do these different things in different timelines or in different lifetimes, and also go into future energies and go through that. But one of the things that spirit's been showing me a lot lately is crafts going through portals
Yeah.
and going through the sky, and like, we think it's there one moment and then it's gone and we don't know where it went, but it just looks like it's going through like a time warp kind of portal thing. So I've been getting that a lot lately. And so I think this conversation is lending to what spirit, I think, is trying to get people to understand is we are not just our physical body and our five senses, and we are more powerful than what we realize. And we're headed into this time where we have a lot of opportunity to raise the consciousness higher than we've ever experienced, at least in this lifetime.
Right.
And that a lot of people that are listening to this right now are part of those souls that were tapped on the shoulder to come in now to be way showers, to hold the flashlight or the candle so that we can help people move through this and understand what they really are capable of doing. And yeah, what a time to be alive and be a teacher on the planet, right?
Isn't it? I know it's amazing, definitely. And during my NDE, I didn't want to come back in 2001. Now, I'd be very upset if they let me stay. I say that a lot, but because of this amazing time, definitely. So yeah, I'm getting that that you do these types of things in the inner worlds too. That yeah, and you probably know that.
I
So,
travel a lot. Yeah, I had a strange dream last night too. Mine wasn't about traveling through portals, but I was at the funeral of someone that I knew and I was watching all of it unfold. And yeah, so we can definitely, as you know, we can astral travel and go into these different spaces and look at the energy and
mhm,
yeah, meet people and guides and angels and loved ones in these astral states. And
totally.
yeah, and I often get asked too, and this is just coming in, dropping in. How do we know if it's real? And I've just found that when there is some kind of dream, but it's really more of astral traveling or doing work or an activation during our sleep state, to me it's felt very real, like there's like this tangible feeling to it where I feel like I was there, and sometimes it'll stick with me for hours later or days later, and so that's how I know that there's a significance to it. How have you noticed, out of curiosity, like how do you know if it's a real quote unquote dream that you're going through?
Yeah, it's the same thing that it sticks with me and it feels like an actual experience while I'm in it, just like here. Whereas a dream, and I've been astral traveling for over 20 years consciously. And so I know that a dream is more fluid. It's not as physical feeling, and I don't bring a lot of the memory. It at first maybe, but if I don't write it down and I don't go over it, then it's gone. The portal closes. But with a dreamlike experience, well, not dreamlike, but experience that we might think is a dream or an out of body experience, especially a classic out of body experience, you know that there's something that is real, I guess, or is that it's not just symbolic. Some of it might be symbolic, who knows? Because dreams are symbolic, yeah, but is language from our higher self and our guidance. So yeah, it's the same thing. It's something that sticks with you and you're like, gosh, that was so real.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be a little bit rattling sometimes, but I think other times, like the what you were describing with going and repairing that frequency fence, that's really cool. And now all of us that have never heard of a frequency fence are like, wait, what? I can do what? You know, and so then we start to widen our awareness, and then it just allows us to do more things while we're here in the human body.
Hmm. Yes, totally. And and I didn't even think about frequency fences until I read it in my journal from 5 or 6 years ago. And I was channeling my guidance, and he talked about the frequency fence from what was going on during that time. That that it was being something about it. I can't remember because I'm using all my journals for my next book or reading through them for my out of body experience book, and and I didn't even it wasn't even didn't enter my mind. And I'm like, okay, now I'm dreaming about. Also, I started speaking light language, and this morning, so something's happening. I know the Three Eye Atlas is coming close to Earth. Something's happening, opening portals right now. And I saw a on a screen or something, light language being written out in front of me, and it was
Ooh,
very similar, right?
gives me chills.
It's very similar to what I was speaking the other day. So yeah, something's happening.
Oh, for sure. And I had an experience the other day where I was speaking to a woman who was channeling light language. And I have chills coming up my body right now as we're talking about this. So, hitting on light language, I think, is really important
Yeah.
because I think that these sacred codes are being shared through light language. And that more and more people are going to be feeling like they're having this language kind of coming through them and wanting to come out of them, but maybe it doesn't sound like anything you've ever heard before, but
Mhm.
it's like pushing out of you and it wants to be like burst out into the world as these sacred codes. So yeah, I'm glad you brought it up.
Do you speak light language?
I've done a little bit of it over the years, but it hasn't been something that has presented lately. But I am open to it. I'm here for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we all are. And I like what you said. I got chills too, that more and more people are going to be bringing that in because our language, the human language is so clunky. And yeah, it just seems that way. I mean, it is, right? The way we speak this way. And I mean, everything has vibration, of course. So light language is there's just something, like you said, very code filled about it, where you don't have to understand the words, but when I've heard other people speak like light language, you feel it in your DNA, in your cells. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's an activation. So anybody listening to it gets the sacred codes that are being spoken aloud. Yeah, and the example that I shared, the lady and I, we did a guided meditation with archangel energy that I was channeling in. And I would take a breath and she would channel in the light language. And then I would channel in the archangels. And it was this like co-creation of archangels and light code, light language. So it was something else. So there's things
Absolutely.
even like I'm sure, all right, I think you'd probably have this too, where we've been doing this a while,
Yes.
like we're pretty fluent at what we're doing, but it feels like there's a new level, like
Mhm.
almost like we're in this video game where we've unlocked like the next level that we get to go into. And the next level is here, and we're like, woo, we're going in. And so it's like even new things are presented to people like us that have been doing this for a long time. So it's fun to know that we haven't reached some kind of ceiling where
Yeah.
we can't access even more. Like we are accessing even more, and it's getting clearer and clearer as the days go by.
Yes, I love that. I know that that is funny about the video game accessing another level. It does feel like that, doesn't it?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
where
I,
we
I sometimes wonder if it's a simulation, I've sat with that question a lot, and it just feels like it doesn't mean that God doesn't exist or anything like that, but it
uh,
just feels like there is something about the design of this reality that we're in as being it feels like a video game that gets rendered. And like we look around that corner and we see something, and then we look around that corner, but it just feels like there's high strangeness in the air around who we are and what this is. If God today showed up and said, all right, so you've been living in like a virtual reality, you're in like a VR headset reality that is light years ahead of the year 2025, and you've been living in what you think is your home and your office, and but you're actually just seeing it through some kind of VR lens in your eyeballs. And surprise, okay, we're going to take you out of there now, and you're going to come rejoin us where we've all been hanging out watching this video game play out. It's almost like we're characters in that video game, The Sims, if you remember that from back in the day. They might still have The Sims around, but it's like basically you have little people characters and you raise them and you have them live in a house and get a job. And what if we're The Sims for something else?
I don't doubt it. I got to tell you, Delissa, I actually saw the Matrix in a grocery store. Clean, sober, no alcohol, no drugs, nothing. Yeah, and the reality fell away, and I see the blue and green grid lines. In a grocery store while I'm grocery shopping.
I have chills, which is part of my messaging of confirmation when I hear something that's true.
Yeah.
What? So, what do
Mhm.
you make of that? That we're in a simulation?
Yeah. Well, then I know that The Matrix is actually a documentary, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, totally. I've had dreams, out of bodies, whatever you want to call them, of waking up in a pod in a stasis chamber.
I've seen it. I've seen the pods. I've been shown the pods, which
Ooh, and I
really
got
started give
goosebumps.
you got goosebumps now. Yeah. So I have like all these um when I saw the pods, I started getting question marks. Like when I started channeling and seeing them, I was like, wait, what? Because I never really thought about this being a simulation. Then once you start seeing like video game symbolism when you're channeling and
Mhm.
these pods, you kind of have to wonder. And they've even showed me like a control board where like this simulation that there's different like knobs and levers. And so whoever this being is on the other side of this simulation or collective beings, they were showing it to me in the way that my brain could understand, where they would like turn that knob and then, oh, there's, that terrorist attack, or we're going to do this one over here and we're going to bring in a measles outbreak, like whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So it's like they're punching these different buttons and levers to see how the collective here on Earth reacts to it.
I totally understand that. I had another out of body experience dream, whatever you want to call it, where I was talking to the architect of the Matrix. He was called the architect, and he was telling me the conversation. I was within it, I was in it, and also talking to him while I was in it. So I was, outside of it, and my consciousness was communicating with him. It was a male voice that was speaking to me. Um, and he told me that the goal is to keep us in the simulation. Yeah.
Wow.
And he didn't say it like he was evil or anything. He just said, we want to keep you in the game. Or not we, but I'd have to look up the exact words in my journal, but that's the goal or that is the deal, is to keep us in the simulation within it, because it feeds off our energy, so to speak.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if that's the deal, I don't want to come back.
Well,
I think,
it
yeah.
was the simulation that was uh it's kind of like an enslavement type of simulation, which
Wow.
Earth has been set up with. Okay. Thank good, but we're spiritually progressing, thank goodness. Um, so, anything, about our galactic history will prove that that we're in that type of a simulation, or in that type of a setup here. And so,
Wow.
yeah, that's what he was telling me.
It sounds, and I haven't gone deep into Robert Monroe's books, but they're just bringing in Robert Monroe's energy right now. So I will have to take a deeper dive, into what he said about here and the afterlife. But his energy is popping in right now.
Mm.
Um, there was a video that I heard recently where Jordan Crowder, who has a podcast, was talking about one of Robert Monroe's books and how Robert Monroe described that when you get over to the other side, there's like this park, he calls it the park, where there are souls there that help welcome you to the other side and like get reacclimated. So I wonder if there's like that in between state where you get reacclimated and discuss like the next incarnation and what that looks like, only to come back to the same simulation.
I've read his books. I've actually been to the Monroe Institute a couple times. Yeah, have you been?
I've only taken a class online, but
Oh,
yeah.
okay. It's amazing. Yeah. And I was at the park when my mother passed. I found her at the park. I just automatically projected from my body, and there she is at the park, sitting there on a bench, and she was on morphine at the time because she was on dying. And she was pretty confused at the time, and she was sick. and I'm sitting there with her and I'm helping her get acclimated to being dad. She goes, I died last night. She called me Sherry. I died last night. I said, I know, Mom, but I didn't know she had died. She was in the hospital and I was going to bring her home the next day. And then my stepdad pulls up in a limousine and takes her in the limousine, gets out, hands her some dozen roses, and takes her and in the limousine, and they drive off together. So, and then I get the phone call a couple hours later that she had passed. But yeah, I know the park.
Wow. I have chills again. I could say that probably this whole episode, but I'm like, oh my God, I'm hanging on every word about the park and your
Yeah,
mom. And oh my gosh, that is incredible.
right. Yeah, it was quite a trip, and that's good stuff. His books, highly recommend them to anybody watching. Yeah, highly recommend. He also talks about the I there, the soul oversoul, I guess you could call it, that Seth talks about, which is good stuff too.
And is that where the highest part of ourself is like always on the other side?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe
Yeah.
that's, yeah, it's been a while since I read them, but it's an expanded part of ourselves that we can access anytime, which we can, part of ourselves here. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, we can journal to that highest part of ourself. Yeah, whenever we have a question, I think
Yeah.
a lot about these days how we have all the answers within us. It can be very, very easy to try to get confirmation from outside of ourselves. And maybe sometimes we do that and it gives us some comfort. But I think the age that we are, the era that we're moving into is that it's all there. We can access it whenever we want. We just have to be open enough to sit there and ask the question and receive the answer, even if it isn't the answer maybe our ego wants,
Hmm.
but it's the answer that is in the highest and best interest of our soul and where we're headed in our life.
Yes, totally. Yeah, that's great advice. I always tell people, clients, everybody, journal, journal, journal. It turns into automatic writing if you keep it up. Yeah, and then you'll look back and say, "Oh my gosh, look how far I've come." And you'll see also, like you were talking about, you'll see things that connect together where predictions, moving back to predictions, that you saw that maybe in a dream or a journal or something like that, or soul writing, all the same thing. And you're like, oh my gosh, I predicted that 6 months ago or a year ago.
Yes. Yeah, it's keeping a record is really important. And also because if you're clairvoyant or you're seeing things that look like a daydream, like or like looks like a photo or a mini movie projecting out in front of you, sometimes the way that spirit communicates with you is like playing a game of Pictionary and it can be very, very symbolic. And so if you're keeping a journal and you're like, today I saw a set of matches and a candle and this is how it makes me feel, right? And you write it all down. It could be trying to get you, spirit could be delivering a message through that candle and those matches, but we're busy, we're human, we're having this experience. Like we're going to forget everything that comes through unless we write it down.
Yeah.
And so start writing it down, and when you do see something or hearing a word or feeling something in the physical body that feels more energetic in nature, write it down. Usually, at least in my experience, spirit uses the same symbols over and over again. So once they know that you understand what that one symbol is, they'll use it for the rest of your life. And so every time you see that birthday cake pop up, you're going to know what that means because they're building your psychic dictionary.
Yes. I love that. Definitely. Especially when you're working with people in a mediumship capacity. It's nice to have symbols that are consistent. Yeah, when you're working with someone. Yeah, totally. I was going to say that they showed me in a dream when I wrecked my car last year, which I didn't know that's what it meant in my dream. and that I was getting a new car and it would be red. And I did wreck my car last year, the car I loved, and I got a new car and it was red.
Well, I'm laughing at the red part, not so much the car crash, but I'm glad you made it, everything's okay. And
Yeah,
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 yeah, predictions, yeah, can be very literal sometimes.
right. And I actually interpreted it very differently at the time. I was thinking everything was symbolic in some way in
Mhm.
my life. It was in 2020, yeah. And a lot was going on in 2020, of course. But so because a lot of times your car can represent your body, a way to, for your consciousness to travel, that type of thing. But when I was going through my journals recently, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what happened in 2020, last year, 2024, almost to the T. Yeah.
Geez. Yeah. And the predictions for the year ahead are pretty interesting. I'd love to hear what you're getting as well. Um,
Yes, thank you.
yeah, there's a lot of oh, I'm hearing the word duality. There's a lot of duality in 2026, even though it's the numerology year of the one, which is the rebirth energy. I recently learned from Tara Kabatoff, who's an astrologer. She said it's actually a 10, but that zero amplifies the one energy. And so it's this think of it as like the new beginning of all beginnings. But plus, we have, Saturn, Neptune that's going to conjunct up in the sky at 0 degrees of Aries and Western tropical, which is like the beginning of all beginnings. And so we have like all of these, I think, incredible doorways that will be open to individuals. But I think in the collective world, there's going to be a lot of upheaval. Spirits channeled it through as describing it as the great dismantling.
Mm,
And a lot of people now are talking about how this system or that system is going away and, conversations about, well, what comes next. But I think there's going to be a lot of ego in 26 and people getting very loud about what they believe. And you could take any system, healthcare, education, even the government of the United States, take any kind of system and know that it is going to go through some kind of upheaval, transformation. And then on the other side of it, which is going to take us some time, that's when we co create what the new reality is that we're bringing in. Um, but I still have been shown, so I get asked this a lot because a lot of people talk about the split in timeline or 3D and 5D. Spirit has shown this very like high frequency that we were discussing a bit ago, where you can access these different frequencies and telepathy and light language, but that there is still this other frequency that is more the 3D and more of the ego, and more of that just like heaviness. So spirit has shown that both will still exist, but the way that I've interpreted it through the channeling is that they don't quite overlap the way that they used to. So
mm,
whereas everyone was kind of together, it doesn't feel like that as we move more and more into the days, weeks, and months ahead. It feels like we are operating on two different, like, operating systems, thinking about a computer, like a video game, like we're just on two different levels without judgment to one or the other, but it's just
right.
different realities, is what it feels like. Have you gotten anything like that?
Yes, I have. Yeah, I 20 something years ago, I saw that we were going to be on two different time or different Earth, different timeline, that type of thing. I also saw that we had to do something drastically 20 something years ago when I was being shown that things are not looking so good for the planet and humanity. Things have changed over time as I look at it and as they're presented to me as well. And I just kept seeing a lot of fire, 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 a lot of fire, that type of thing. Um, upheavals. Yes. So what and it's gone away where the timelines are merging. I feel that too, but there's also going to be people that are, parts of humanity, which are all parts of ourselves. Everything is a part of, we're all one, so everything's a part of us, right? Of the collective who we're still or are still in 3D in that space of fear and anger and those types of things, emotions or parts of them that will, when they leave the planet, which they will sooner or later, we all do, um, will reincarnate on in a different planet, perhaps, that is still in that space and are working on that, their spirituality, but can hold their where their frequency will be home frequency for them, for that part of us, the collective. Um, because I do believe that for reincarnation on Earth can't hold the collective can't hold that type of frequency that much as we move into higher frequencies like the fifth dimension. I do believe that the fourth dimension is the frequency where we work on our stuff, where we're letting go of our shadows, we're healing our shadows and that. Because, we talk about moving from 3 to 5, and I've asked them, what's four? We skipped a number. We skipped a frequency here. And that's where I get that that's where we're working on our stuff. And and our guides are swooping in, lowering their frequency to help us in that space as much as they can. And so that we can easily move into the fifth dimension and and move into what the Hindu prophecies call, or the yugas, the Satya Yuga, the golden age, because we're moving pretty quickly, pretty rapidly. Yeah. And we're moving from the Kali to, which is the lowest of the ages, meaning how we treat each other, and our evolvement into the Satya, which is the golden age. So it takes time. And you're right, I do definitely see a dismantling. How could we not see it going on? And yeah, so 2026 is going to be exciting. It's going to be crazy. Just like 2025 is crazy too. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, if we're going to have a lot of major headlines in 26.
Mhm.
And I've asked Spirit, well, like, is there one big thing that people need to know about? And they said there's going to be layer upon layer upon layer of everything that's going to be happening in 2026. But I do think because the energy feels much louder
Yeah.
in 26 for the collective, that could be part of what you were just describing about the fourth dimension, where people that haven't been doing their healing, they become louder from that place of their wound
Mhm. Yes.
and create this like ripple effect from that wound that goes out, out into the world. So I think it can be somewhat easy in 2026 to get drawn into some of the drama or the headlines that feel really loud. But as I'm saying this, it feels like if we can go within and remember that it's like this dying off process of the old
Yeah.
to create space for the new, then I think we can see that and shift the perspective and not get so pulled into that lower frequency.
Oh, perfect. I love that. Yeah, totally. Because like you said, 2026 is numerology wise, it's a 10 and a 1, which are new beginnings, new new projects, new life, new this, new birth. And so we have to let go, letting go. Yeah. If we haven't done our work, it's going to be tough. And Christ told me that 20, my guys told me that 20 something years ago, and it wasn't easy getting here. But even now, he says, when we're, as we're ramping up and ramping up, it doesn't mean it's going to be easy. And, all the religions that prophesize these times that we're in right now, And it's, oh, I got goosebumps like crazy. It's like, wow, we're finally here.
I know. What a time to be here. I think we had to like thumb wrestle people on the other side to decide who was going to be able to come in here, but we
Right.
won. And so we're here.
We're here. Yep.
Uh, yeah. And so I think that's also a helpful reminder, at least for me, thinking about anytime we see something that is happening on the wider scale, that we wanted to be here to see it all dismantle. We wanted to see that rebirth. We wanted to see what we're creating next with that
Yes.
higher octave of energy. And we won. We're here. So
Hmm. Hmm.
I reference this a lot, but that movie, The Truman Show with Jim Carrey, I feel like if we can remember that we are Jim Carrey inside of The Truman Show,
Yeah.
then it helps us to detach a bit from the swirling that can become really intense around any of these events that spirit has mentioned as being, one on top of another, because they've said to me, not everyone awakens from the same event. So there will be many events that will give different people opportunities to awaken within and to do that healing. So it could look very, very noisy.
Hmm. Perfect. Definitely. Okay, let's go. One more topic real quick.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the big deal in my world anyway, on disclosure? I mean, we already know it ourselves, and I've always said we are really the disclosure, but a lot of people, and us included, I'm sure, would like to hear it from the, the organizations that we consider to be up there type of thing and are in the know. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we know, right? But bringing it out into the mainstream, oh, I have chills coming through my body again because I was about to say it feels like 2026 energy and it's coming up my legs right now as I say that. Uh, But also, really interestingly, what I just got to hit on as you asked that question is it feels like there was a senior member of the United States government that was going to say it and they decided not to, at least for right now. It feels like Trump, feels like he
Hmm.
was about to do it and
Yeah.
something stopped him. But it's not off the table. What Spirit is saying to me is that they're reworking how they're going to disclose. So it just feels more like figuring out what this means and how they want to position it before they come out and say it. Um, but yeah, I'm feeling 26. With that Saturn Neptune conjunction, February 20th,
Mm.
I think that's going to create some massive, massive new beginnings. And to me, what other new beginning is as big as like talking about how we're not alone and that we
Exactly.
have different origins than what has been discussed for so many thousands of years. So that would be like the granddaddy of them all, I would think. So, but I'm getting a hit on 2026. So I think it's right around the corner. But I also think that is going to create a lot of spirals around organized religion and what is demonic and people fighting over it. And so I think that's going to be one of the discord moments or eras of 2026 onwards is what people believe and don't believe and how we can coexist with very, very different belief systems.
Yeah. Yes, that makes sense to me. And I got the same thing about disclosure. I was getting it was in 2025, and then something happened, and to set it back like normal. Always, I'm not going to say like normal, but something seems to do that. And that now I'm getting that the Federation, the Galactic Federation of Planets, whatever we want to call them, that oversees our galaxy. In order that we are on the verge of becoming a member of the Federation, just like Star Trek. And those shows are all soft disclosure. Um, our planet cannot be a warring planet in order to be a member of the Federation, the Galactic Federation, not the Galactic Federation of Light, that's different, but the Galactic Federation of Planets. It's like a military type, which I have many many memories of being there with them. Um, and but anyway, that's a whole other story. And this is your time. I just want to say that,
No, I love this. This is a co-creation right here.
yeah, totally, that we cannot be a warring planet. So we have to end our wars. And I believe that's why Trump is doing all this, of course. I mean, and who he doesn't like wars. Nothing wrong with that. Um, And so when our wars are ended that we have on our planet is when we'll be able to have disclosure and move forward and be a productive member of the galactic community, because we're just children compared to what a lot of the extraterrestrials or interdimensional, whatever you want to call them out there, are. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Oh my gosh, this has been such a great conversation.
yes, definitely. Thank you so much for being here, Dallisa. Why don't you, if you would mind, if you don't mind, share how people can get a hold of you, what your services are, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, the easiest place to find everything is spiritandspark.com. That's my website. So I've got all my socials on there. These days, I teach a lot of classes, and so those are on there. And I do a lot of predictions, and I share those um, primarily on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. So everything's there. So come check it out. Come say hello. And I'm just delighted, Sharon, that we could have this time together today to talk about what the heck is going on.
Right? And more. And yes, thank you. Thank you. And I will have Dalisa's information in the details. So thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you again soon. I'm Sharon Kumara, and you have been listening to Awakened Soul Radio on Transformation Talk Radio. I invite you to embark on a transformative journey with us. Awakened Soul is a safe, sacred space for exploring the depths of our consciousness. Each episode, you will be inspired to shed the illusions that bind you, connect more deeply with your inner wisdom, and step into a liberating life of freedom, clarity, and purpose. To connect with me, visit kumaraacademy.com.